Everybody knows in the Bible that fear of the Lord is the beginning of understanding. But what exactly does this mean, and why is it the case that fear is a form of understanding of the Most High, of the universal laws and nature of reality? This is something that I've been pondering a lot today because over the past week or two, I've had more and more people not necessarily giving me mean mugs more so than usual, but it's almost like there's this intimidation factor there. And I have not done anything to these kinds of people that would result in this kind of effect of the populace. And I know this has always been the case. I know why certain people are feared in society more so than other people, especially if they haven't done anything to really warrant any kind of fear. What they fear, ladies and gentlemen, is the light of Christ within you. Well, what exactly does that mean? Well, think about this from a practical perspective, okay? The mental projections that you have are not the same as your physical body. Obviously, this is why the Platonic forms are what they are. And this is why Socrates talked about this, is because there are almost three worlds of dimensions within the mind, and that is the physical, the intellectual, and then the Platonic. As far as I can tell, that some of these people know that you are operating, it's not necessarily the plane of Platonic forms, but the light of Christ is coming from a place. The Orthodox Church sometimes calls this the uncreated light, where a saint or somebody that is high up in the hierarchy of the spiritual kingdom is able to come down with this newfound light that has not yet been shown, but it's shown spiritually. And that's what they mean by the uncreated light. Although I don't think that's necessarily the right way to think about it. I don't think that's the right way to think about it at all. And this is one of the benefits of being close to Christ and being a godly person, is that you will have the light of Christ within you. And what that means is that you know that even though that there's a difference between your mental projections and the physical body, you also know that there is no difference between the mind and the physical body in another sense. And so this is the comparing and contrasting of, again, the physical, the intellectual, and the Platonic form worldliness. And so it's not necessarily, when I say worldliness, I'm not saying necessarily the world in of itself, because we're not supposed to be in the world necessarily, but we are to be participating in it, and as Genesis states, to have dominion over it. This is why people are going to be fearing you, and this is one of the reasons why I think I've had this feeling of people being more insecure around me recently out and about. I'm not doing anything, and I don't really look at people, I don't talk to people, and maybe that's part of it as well, because I'm not that kind of person to talk just to talk. People talk enough, and if I'm going to be discussing something, it's going to be with people like yourself that actually understand where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about, or at least wanting to get more of an in-depth understanding of it, because I value philosophical, psychological perspectives that revolutionize spirituality and all the other ologies. And that's really what I'm trying to do here. And this is something that you have to understand as well. This is going to be one of the other reasons why people fear you as a godly person. You see, you're doing something that most of the population either cannot do or doesn't have the heart to do it. And they choose not to. They choose to steer away from this. And everybody has free will. So everybody has their choices to make, but some people are going to be under the influence of demonic forces, dark forces, and unimaginable threats that they don't even believe to be existing. This is one of the reasons why, and I've seen this more and more recently too, the YouTube comments on my channel, at least, and a lot of the other channels that are not necessarily similar to mine, because there's nothing quite like what I'm doing here as far as I'm concerned, and from what other people have told me, but there are similar like niches like mine, you know, self-development and spirituality and psychology, philosophy, etc. But I have a much different approach, and I talk a lot about a lot of different kinds of things. And one of the biggest things that I've seen in the YouTube comments compared to like X comments or Instagram or whatever, YouTube seems to have more of a thoughtful interaction between other people. Whereas on X, it's almost like the keyboard warriors are just out to play. And it's like, man, these people get easily triggered. Like, these people that you don't even know will threaten to like cancel you or hunt you down, and it's like, what in the hell? Like, you guys are nuts. like I had no clue how sick some people are and how mentally disturbed some people are and how triggered people can be until I started making content. And the stuff that I've been posting on X lately has been really really stirring the pot, apparently, even though I'm not necessarily getting tons of interaction like here on YouTube. I'm getting a lot more interaction because I'm more speaking to the people on YouTube, but I'm speaking to people everywhere because I'm posting my videos now on multiple different platforms. But it's just interesting to see and compare and contrast the levels of consciousness that are on certain platforms that are not on others, and how triggered some people are, and how they want to believe in you being this guy, the bad guy, and they'll fear you because of it. All because, why? Because you have the nerve to stand up for yourself, to be who you are, and to live a life in accordance to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, and to honor those accordingly. That's what a lot of the Christians nowadays, I put them in air quotes because I don't even consider a lot of these Christians Christian. And the reason for it, because I consider myself following Christ. I'm a follower of Christ. I do not say that I am a Christian. I don't think that Christ wanted me to be a Christian necessarily. I think he wants me to be like him, of course, but he still wants me to be my own person. And that's been the beautiful thing about developing my relationship with him, is it's a personal relationship. Just like every one of you have a personal relationship with the Creator, it's a beautiful thing because you can go to him and there's really nothing to hide anyways, right? I had somebody that I was working with in a consultation say that the other day. He's like, you know, I'm praying, and it's just kind of funny because it's like I can't even hide anything anyways. And that's come up multiple different times with different people since then, ironically. But I think he put it in a pretty compelling way, is that there's not anything that you can really hide anyway. And what's amazing is that even if people that are atheist or agnostic or whatever pray as if that there is an almighty creator that is going to listen to you, because this is the kind of format in my own mind that I worked with when I was coming to Christ 3 years ago now, almost to the day. And because I was studying Christ and I was doing these things, but I wasn't following, and I wasn't full-fledged into Christ just yet. I was wanting to gather more data and knowledge before I made a decision, and really the decision was kind of made for me. It was a happening. It wasn't necessarily something that I chose. It was more like, do you want to be healed? Yes or no? And I said yes. And so in a way it was a choice, but the things that happened after that, the blessings that I've received, I mean, I couldn't be more appreciative of the support and the engagement that I've seen on all of the social medias that I've had, and in my business as well with Regal Change as a whole, the Regal Change Academy, all of these things. It's been a blessing to see and to grow and to just live righteously, and to feel the meaning just flowing through your spirit. I mean, everything that I do, every way that I go, every ounce of life that I have to give is just radiant with meaning, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's another reason why these people are going to fear you, is because they can see that something's up with you. Like, if you look at a person's face, for example, right? I can't remember the term. Is it physiognometry? Physiology? It's not physiology. Physiognomy? I don't remember the term. Somebody can help me out there in the comments. But it's a term that describes like the facial pattern of a person and the characteristics that a person can have based off of what they look like. And so it's not necessarily that you're judging them by their appearance, but it's like you can tell a person has ugly thoughts based off of, how, not just how they present themselves, but their facial structure, their eyebrows. Are their eyebrows pointed down like this? Are they angry? Or are they more soft? Or are they like doe-like and deer in headlights, with their eyebrows raised, like always looking scared and frightened and soft and submissive to, the world is just out to get me? Or are you imposing your will upon that which is before you? There's certain inflections that you can look at within the face and the facial structure that demonstrate this. You can also tell by how masculine a person is based off of certain facial characteristics as well, like their cheekbones or their jawline, even beards and such as well. Like, this is just very basic things. And you might think that it's not that deep. Well, it is that deep. And subconsciously, again, this is why people may fear you, is because they can sense that there's something more to you subconsciously. They may not even recognize it consciously, but subconsciously, they're going to feel it. They're going to know what it's like. They're going to have this, they're going to have something to think about you, whether you feel it or not necessarily. They're going to feel you, and they're going to hate you or respect you, especially if you're actually following God's laws, statutes, and commandments. You're in the truth. You're in spirit and truth. There's only hate and love. That's like that's pretty much it. And you might say, well, that's very black and white. Well, there's a uniting of polarities that takes place, that has to take place. There's a recognition of the opposites that takes place, especially when you start to follow Christ in a way that cannot be understated. It's, in fact, the most profound thing that I think I've been able to go through while following Christ and living out the truth is just seeing how on fire you can be for life. I'm living at a point now to where I'm just accepting that I'm made of fire. And there are going to be people that are going to try to come after you every which way. But you have to move with strategy, you've got to move with consistency, and you've got to move with purpose 110%. Nothing I do is just for nothing. Everything I do has a purpose. And there was something really crazy that happened to me yesterday in a good way. And lo and behold, I haven't had like a spiritual attack in the night for a little while. And guess what happened? Spiritual attack. It was like this succubus was upset that I was not giving her the energy or the attention that she felt like she deserved. And so she was like forcing herself to rub her cheek against mine in the dream. And then like the spirit of my mom and my dad came, and they were talking about certain things, and it was like I was reliving certain parts of my childhood in a way that was completely just horrific. Let's just leave it at that. And it wasn't necessarily a nightmare, though. That's what was weird. It wasn't a nightmare. It was just as if I was reliving it. And it wasn't like I didn't wake up feeling, hurt necessarily, but it was just the acknowledgement of like, yeah, that was what happened, and that is part of who I am. And the demon was trying to almost scare me into my past and what kind of trauma that I went through. And so these demons out here, depending on the level of hierarchy you are in the kingdom of God, are going to attack you in certain ways. If they can't attack you in the physical, if they can't get to you in the physical, they're going to try to get to you in the spiritual. And that's what happens in your dreams sometimes. But anyways, guys, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you to get an idea and a glimpse about why godly people are feared. And it's not because you're trying to be evil or anything, or you're trying to be the bad guy. But in some ways, we have to be the villain in these people's stories because we know what's true, we know what's righteous, and we're not necessarily hurting people. We're just placing boundaries and calling things how we see them. And that is what it is. So with all that being said, if you do want to join the Regal Change Academy, we have the free Discord channel available with some resources there, as well as the paid community where we have a weekly Bible study as well as a weekly group call. And we've got a bunch of other classes that are available for you. We have another class coming up that I'm really excited for. I'll be making an announcement for that next week, likely. We also have, for anybody that wants to join, you don't have to be in the Regal Change Academy for this, but on December 5th, which is just 2 days from now, from filming this, we are going to be starting the 72-hour fast of Regal Change, the first ever group collective fast around the world. I'm super excited for it to see what's happening there. The rules are basically just water or salt water or an electrolyte drinks with 0 calories. So Powerade Zero is fine. Just any kind of drink with 0 calories. You can have water, of course, but no food. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. That'll be the rules. And if you can't go for the 72 hours because you have some kind of form of like work or anything like that, just go as long as you can. Just go as long as you can. And if you are in the Regal Change Academy, we're going to be having an extra call on Saturday, the 7th, for this purpose, just for this. So that'll be a really solid call and to boost morale and to keep everybody motivated and inspired. So I also want to thank everybody moving from YouTube over to X, Rumble, and Instagram, all those other platforms recently. I appreciate your guys' support. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. Till next time.